What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Thomas back again, giving you another rendition of Truth Be Told. This week I'm not going to go into any real politics or news or anything like that. Nothing major has gone down this week. All you see is a bunch of, it's like a royal schoolyard, you know. They act like a bunch of little bratty kids. Any way they can get gotcha moments or dirt on somebody, and then try to, you know, put them down so they can find out who comes out on top. The media is the worst about it. I think this last time the media went and twisted words that Donald Trump said about you know, finding you know, a type of cure by injecting UV light into him, and somehow they came out with him saying, oh, that's a, he said inject bleach or Lysol into, and that's not what he said at all. If you watch the speech, he never said anything about injecting bleach or Lysol into somebody. It's retarded. And then the other one was, you had a Yahoo News reporter. Fucking Yahoo, they're so dumb. Anyway, he didn't have his facts straight, and he went up there and tried to ask a asinine question, and then they gave him the facts, which pissed him off. He went on a rant, yelling and screaming at the president, and it was funny to watch because they made him look like an idiot. But just the media asking him dumb questions, and then they want to twist what he says, and it's just gotten ridiculous, you know. If anyone votes for Democrat, they've got to have a hole in their head. They really do, after seeing what the media is doing and what the Democrats keep doing to the people. It's just ridiculous. I mean, Trump may not be the greatest, what do you call, politician, but that's what makes him so good, is because he's not really a politician. Yeah, he doesn't always say the right thing all the time at the time. You know, he kind of runs off the mouth sometimes. But at least he's trying to do the right thing and help the people out. The Democrats are all about themselves, and so is the media. The media is 10 times worse. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get on to this week's reviews. I'm gonna go over a few games here. I just got done playing a game called Tai Fu for the PS1. I didn't even really know about this game. Never heard of it before. But basically, it looks like Kung Fu Panda, to be honest. Like you're playing Kung Fu Panda, you know, the Disney movies. But instead, you're playing this tiger. I don't even remember what the character's name was. You're playing this tiger, and it's not a female. It's a male. He was trained by pandas since he's been a child, because apparently there's a dragon that went and killed most of his race. So there's very few tigers who know Tai Fu left, or Kung Fu, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, he's got to go and stop this dragon. And he goes and learns various moves from various clans. Like he goes to the leopards and learns a couple leopard moves. He learns 3 mantis moves. And then he learns monkey. Learns a couple monkey moves. And then finally he learns the tiger moves. But yeah, you gotta go through all these areas to get to the masters to learn these moves. And at the end, you gotta face the dragon and kill him. It's not a bad game. It's alright for, you know, a little action storytelling game. You know, you gotta collect stuff to get extra man or whatever, these little jade crystals, or a coin, some type of Kung Fu coin for an extra man. But it's not a bad game. It's pretty good. I would say there were 2 parts of the game that are ridiculously hard. The first one is the crane village. Not so much as hard. You got to pretty much watch what you're doing. You got to be careful not to go off the edge, because it's a bunch of narrow edges. There's supposed to be docks, but if you fall off the edge into the water, you automatically die. So you got to be careful when you're going through that area. I mean, really careful, because he's all over the place when he's doing his moves. He's all over the place. The second stage that I thought was just ridiculous is the next to the very end, where you gotta fight the dragon. You gotta go through something called the gauntlet, dragon gauntlet, or shadow gauntlet, or something like that. And the only reason it was a pain in the rear is because they had 2 parts in that level where you had to monkey bounce on these little balloons or whatever to get to the next area. The only problem is the way they separate these balloons. There's a couple of them that are just really far apart, and you've got to be like precise on getting him to roll and bounce on them things just right. You have to be perfect, or you're not going to do it. And you're going to go through a lot of men trying to get it done. Trust me, I went through tons of them. Everything else was easy until that point. Other than that, the game was alright. It wasn't too bad. If you like enjoying like storytelling, where you got to go through a story and a little bit of action kind of thing, I actually give it 2 thumbs up. It was actually a pretty cool game for what it was. Wasn't bad. Now I heard they made a sequel for it for the PS3, but I haven't ever seen it, so I just heard about it. The next game I want to talk about from the PS1 Classic, it's called Warzone 2100. Now, I know there's a PC version. They keep kind of updating it a little bit. This game is by far, hands down, the best RTS game I've ever played. RTS, real-time strategy. It's just awesome. Some of the units that you can build and the buildings and stuff. You go around, you destroy enemy camps, and you know, you collect artifacts, is what they call it, and then you research the artifacts with your research facilities, and then you gain that technology, and then you can utilize that technology into your units or your buildings. It's a really awesome RTS war strategy type game. Basically, the story is you have this doctor who transfers his mind basically into computer form. He takes over satellites and he nukes the Earth. After the aftermath, you have little fractions that pop up, you know, trying to retake things over. You're one of these factions called the Project. You're trying to rebuild, kind of like the United States, because that's where you're at. You're in the U.S. territory. And then you got to go around taking out these a couple factions or whatever that this guy who calls himself Nexus in the computer is trying to take over. And then you got to take on Nexus himself before he gets a hold of satellites and nukes everything again. Anyways, it's, like I said, it's by far the best RTS I've ever played. It's amazing. The graphics were really good for that particular game at that time. I really wish they would come out with a sequel, kind of update everything, and do it to where it is now a worldwide thing, and they've got to go destroy factions in different countries, not just the United States. I think that would be amazing. Like they conquered the U.S. Now they got to go to other factions in other countries and stop them. You know, like Nexus is still around. They got to go to these other countries and take them out. I think that would be awesome. But like I said, I know they kind of updated a little bit in like 2012 or something like that with the PC version, and you know, kind of made the graphics a little bit better, but there wasn't really a whole lot added on to the story. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Warzone 2100. Definitely 2 thumbs up. Like I said, one of the greatest RTS. If you like real-time strategy, you're gonna like Warzone 2100. Hands down, the best ever. Last thing I want to touch on is the new Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I've seen videos on this, and I've seen video reviews and gameplay. The gameplay looks pretty neat at first, but then I realized that it's not turn-based. It's this type of action, or it is an ABS, or an action-based system, instead of a TBS, a turn-based system, which I absolutely do not like at all. That's why after the last time they did a turn-based system was for Final Fantasy X, and after that it all became action, and then nobody really started. People kind of stopped buying the games because they don't like that. They want the turn-based system, and that's what I saw a lot of the reviews are complaining about. It's not turn-based, it's action-based system, and nobody wants that. Yeah, it looks kind of cool at first, but then it's annoying because you can't control the characters. You have to try to give them commands in between your fighting, which will get you killed a lot of the times. And it's a mess. It looks like a mess. I was watching people try to do it, and they're constantly pausing and trying to do things with these characters while they're fighting, and it's just ridiculous. It's retarded. So the game overall looks great, like the graphics and all that. Of course, that looks great. Excuse me. But the rest of it is just silly. It's retarded. They were talking about how it takes forever to get through cutscenes and to different areas because the game is having to have some load time. So they're making you go down these long stretches of tunnel or some crap. You got a ton of ridiculous side quests, and you never leave Midgar. You never get out of there. You're there the entire game because they mean to do like a few sequels, But it's ridiculous. The whole game is based in Midgar, which is dumb. Way too much retarded side quests and too much downtime. You're not really doing anything. And the ABS or real-time system, RTS, whatever, it's flawed. It doesn't work for Final Fantasy. It doesn't work for original turn-based games. It just doesn't. You're better off playing the original Final Fantasy VII than you are the new one. So I'm not going to buy it. I was excited that they were going to do a remake just like everybody else. And then when they opened it, all they did was basically show the cinematic scenes, which was awesome looking. Of course, that all looks great. But then when it comes down to the actual playing the game, the action, instead of doing turn-based, they're doing RTS, real-time, or, action-based, ABS, whatever. It sucks. And then you can't even control the materia right. There's no point in leveling it up. It's a different total magic system, which nobody likes that either. So I'm not buying this. I'm not wasting my money on it. It looks terrible. I'm not doing it. Anyways, that's how I feel about the new FF7. Okay. Let's get on to your B-rated movie reviews. What's up, movie holics? Let's get on to your B-movie reviews. This week we went Sci-Fi week. We're back to doing sci-fi. I picked two old sci-fis from the 90s. Neither one of them have the box office numbers, so I can't give you box office numbers on it. And the reason that is because in the 80s and 90s, a lot of people were renting videos. And a lot of times your B movies would go straight to video. They made some decent money back then doing that. Unfortunately, now that, once streaming online became more and more readily accessible, that kind of stopped. The renting business kind of has gone kaput. Now, both these movies is Circuitry Man and Circuitry Man 2. Jim Mitzer stars in both of them as the synthetic man or android. He plays supposedly some kind of romance android or whatever. And then you have Vernon Wells, who plays in both movies as well. He is your main villain. His name is Plughead. Only difference between these movies is that the female leads. Now, in the first one, you had Dana Wheeler, and she plays some chick named Lori or whatever. And she's a bodyguard to this fat chick named Juice, who's kind of like a drug lord or whatever. But she deals in chips, not drugs. But the chips are like drugs to people supposedly in this movie because they can plug them in and get some euphoria state out of them. At the very beginning, Plughead is trying to buy some chips off of Juice. You meet Jim, Mitch's character, Danner, the synthetic romance droid or whatever. He shows up and he threatens to kill himself unless Juice tells him where his girlfriend is. Well, Juice tells him to get the fuck out of there, and he leaves. He says, "I'll be back." And then Juice tells everyone, you know, that the girlfriend he's asking about isn't real. It's a program in his head that she made so he would do a drug chip run to New York for. They're in LA at the beginning of the movie. Anyways, the meeting goes bad. Juice supposedly dies. Plughead tries to take the chips, but then Dana Wheeler, she ends up beating the piss out of him, taking the chips and running off. Yo-Yo, who is a henchman of Juice, she joins Plughead, and then they pursue Dana Wheeler's character for the chips. Dana goes to Danner, which again is a synthetic man, android, whatever, goes to him for help and asks him to take her to New York because he's supposed to be a really great driver or whatever. You know who I am? And he's been there before. He knows how to get to the contact to sell the chips. At first he refuses, but then she tells him that she'll help him find his girlfriend. So then he takes her. They stop at a mechanic shop. They get a old vehicle from like the 60s or whatever. It's a convertible. They take off and they're driving through the underground because topside, everybody's underground because topside, the atmosphere is supposedly not breathable. You need oxygen ventilators or mask or whatever to be able to go topside. So they're going through a tunnel underground. Plughead finds a mechanic, learns where they're headed, and gets him a vehicle and plugs into the vehicle and takes off after him. It's their thing with synthetic and Plughead. Plughead likes to plug in the thing, synthetic does not. Anyways, they meet a guy named Leech who tells them that he's got tons of oxygen for them to go topside so they can escape the tunnels. So they do. However, so does Plughead and Yo-Yo. They're going after him. They go topside. They go still chasing New York. They get in a mess up on topside. There's some people still live topside, and they do all kinds of stuff to try to stop. Plughead ends up getting this gang of motorcyclists to try to help him, and they cause a lot of problems for him, but they eventually all end up in New York City. There's kind of a fight scene. They find out that Juice is still alive. She misled everybody to try to get the chips there. And there's a big fight scene because there's a couple of supposed they're like FBI agents. They show up with like a SWAT team or whatever. They've been chasing them down. A big, huge scene. Supposedly Bloodhead dies. And the synthetic man, him and the girl take off together and they live happily ever after. It was okay. Wasn't the greatest of B movies, especially when it comes to sci-fi. It's more like a drug action type movie than it was sci-fi. You know, it had a little sci-fi element in it, and that was about it. It was alright. Wasn't too horribly bad. The acting was decent enough that I could watch it. But it wasn't the greatest. I give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. If you're looking for an old action flick with a little sci-fi element in it, it's okay. Moving on to the second one. Now, you had the same guys, you know, the main character, the romantic synth in it, or android or whatever, and then you had, of course, Vernon Wells playing Plughead in it as the bad guy. Now, the only difference is in this one, you had a couple of different female leads. The first one is the main female lead, which is Deborah Shelton. And then you had Tracy Lords in it as well. And she was kind of popular back then in the 90s. Anyways, in this one, Deborah Shelton plays this agent who's after Plughead. Plughead supposedly was supposed to be dead, but they did this program to where they could try to get information from him when he was dead, and it ended up he was in like some type of stasis or coma or whatever, and he woke up and he escapes from the laboratory they were in. He takes Tracy Lords, Tracy Lords is some scientist that's been trying to get information from him. Well, he tells her he's going to show her how to get information from people the right way. And basically forces her to help him out. And he jacks into people and he's looking for some type of code or whatever that he left in the synth's mind or whatever. But he needs to get it back. He don't know where it's at. And he's looking through all these people to find it. But it gives him some type of power. Anyways, Deborah, come to find out, Deborah is actually Tracy Lord's daughter or whatever. And she's helping Plughead because he's threatening to kill Deborah if she don't know where Deborah is. On the other hand, he tells the same thing to Deborah: if you don't cooperate, I kill Tracy, which is supposedly her mother. Basically, he's telling her that she's got to go break out the Circuitry Man, Jim Mertzer or whatever. She's got to go break him out of prison, or get him out, and then bring him to him. Which she's some kind of agent. That's what it seemed like. She was some kind of agent, like an FBI agent or something. So she's able to get him out, and she tells him that he needs she needs his help to do something, but she don't exactly explain everything to him. The two dorky guys from the first one that played the FBI agents, they're in this one as well. They go chasing after him. The guy who played Leech in the first one, the guy who helped him out with the air tanks or whatever, he's in this one too. He causes a bunch of problems as well. He's in some kind of prison at the beginning, and he's with this guy who used to be a billionaire or whatever, who's turned just really dumb. I mean, mentally messed up or whatever. And he takes him with him when he chases after him. I don't know, it's kind of weird. None of this made any sense when I was watching it. Eventually they get to where they're supposed to be going. They all meet up at the end. There's this big hurrah fight scene again. Deborah and Tracy reunite, and Leech helps them get out of there with the Circuitry Man, and that's the end of the movie. It was okay. Wasn't nearly as good as the first one. Not even close. I don't know. This one didn't make any sense to me at all. You know, if you can make sense out of it, good luck. I gave it a thumbs up and a thumbs down, just because I was bored and wanted something to watch. So, you know, if you like that kind of cheese, go for it. But I didn't care for it all that much. It was okay. I mean, it was done in 1994. It's a 90s flick, so what do you expect? Anyways, that's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about or suggestions about something that I might not have seen or reviewed yet, some type of B movie that's a gem that nobody usually talks about, underrated film, whatever, leave a suggestion in the comments below that you want me to review it, and I'll get around reviewing it when I can. Let me know your thoughts on like Final Fantasy VII, the new one, if you felt the same way about it, because I know most people do. I'd like to hear from you about that. Anyways, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week, and I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.